all of the shlokas. That's why we are just trying to reconnect for.
Yes, so this is, there are almost like, okay, there are some hands raised already. Hare Krishna.
Good. Hi, Hare Krishna. I can't hear Mataji. I think her voice is not very audible.
Can you hear us now? Can you speak?
I can hear you. I can't hear her.
Hare
She's
Krishna
actually sitting a
Mataji.
little far away.
Hare Krishna Mataji, can you hear me now?
Yeah, much better. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, maybe
Can
let
you
me
put this
change
properly?
this.
Mataji?
I think that's
Not much.
Okay.
just hold it with your hands.
Ready for that.
Yeah. Now it will be clear, right?
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I can hear the little one. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think you should be able to hear now. Right. Yeah.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Bhagavanuvāca. Urdhvamulam adashakam ashvatham prahuravyayam. Chandamsi yasya parnani yastam veda savedaved. Adhaschodham prashitastasya shakha guna pravriddha vishaya pravala. Adhascha mulani anusantatani karmanubandhini manushya loke. Narupamasyeh tatopalabhyate nanto na chadir na cha sampratishtha ashvatthamenam suvirudhamulam asanga shastrena dridhena chitva tata padam tat parimargitavyam yasmin gatanānuvartanti bhūyah tameva chadyam purusham prapadye yata pravritti prashrita purani nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kama
Dvandair vimukta sukha dukha samnair gacchantya padamavyayam tat na tad bhashayate suryo na shashanko na pavakaha yadgatva nivartante tadhama paramam mama mamayvamsho jivaloke jivabhuta sanatanaha मनःषष्ठानीन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति शरीरं यदवाप्नोति यच्छाति युक्तमतीश्वरः गृहीत्वैतानि संयाति वायुर्गन्धानि वाशयात् श्रोत्रं चक्षुस्पर्शनं च रसनं ग्रहणमेव च अधिष्ठाय मनसायं विषयानुपसेवते उत्क्रामन्तं स्थितं वापि भुञ्जानां वा गुणान्वितं विमूढानानुपश्यन्ति पश्यन्ति ज्ञानचक्षुषः यतन्तो योगिनश्चैनं पश्यन्त्यात्मन्यवस्थितं यतन्तोऽप्यकृतात्मानो नैनं पश्यन्ति अचेतसः यदादित्यगतं तेजो जगद्भासयतेऽखिलम् यच्चन्द्रांसि यच्चाग्नौ तत्तेजो विधिमामकम् गामाविश्य च भूतानि धारयाम्यहमोजसा पुष्णामि चौषधी सर्व सोमो भूत्वा रसात्मकः
जीवात्मकः अहं वैश्वानरो भूत्वा प्राणिनां देहमाश्रितः प्राणपानसमायुक्तः पचाम्यन्नं चतुर्विधम् सर्वस्य चाहं हृदि सन्निविष्टो मत्तः स्मृतिर्ज्ञानमपोहनं च वेदैश्च सर्वैरहमेव वेद्यो वेदान्तकृद्वेदविदेव चाहं द्वाविमो पुरुषो लोके क्षरश्चाक्षर एव च क्षरः सर्वाणि भूतानि कूटस्थोऽक्षर उच्यते उत्तमः पुरुषस्त्वन्यः परमात्मेत्युदारतः यो लोकत्रयमाविश्य बिभर्त्यव्यय ईश्वरः यस्माक्षरम् अतीतोऽहम् अक्षरादपि चोत्तमः अतोऽस्मि लोके वेदे च प्रथितः पुरुषोत्तमः यो मामेवमसम्मूढो जानाति पुरुषोत्तमम् स सर्वविद् भजति मां सर्वभावेन भारतः इति गुह्यतमं शास्त्रम् इदमुक्तं मया नघः एतद्बुद्ध्वा बुद्धिमान् स्यात् कृतकृत्यश्च भारतः ॐ तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे श्रीपुरुषोत्तमयोगो नाम पञ्चदशोऽध्यायः श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु।
हरि ओम तत्सदिति। हरे कृष्णा। Right, so that was about our Purushottama Yoga, which we are going to learn in a while from now. Now let's open our discussions for a quick recap as to what we have learned yesterday. I don't know if I have.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Okay, I thought you people are not able. Yes, Prabhu, do I need to give anyone else?
Admin Shikriti Mataji, she has already joined, so I'll request please make her co-host also.
Yes, done, Prabhu. Sorry about that. I didn't notice. Done. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes. So, what did we learn yesterday from the yesterday's chapter? We learned about the three modes, how we get entangled within the three modes, and we also learned how to detach ourselves from the three modes. The only way is to detach. And we have also seen how the three modes, they graciously, what you call, try to entangle us with the chains of Maya, or the Maya, how she tries to entangle us with these three modes. So all the three modes are present within us in some way or the other, and now it is us who has to identify and then come out of these three modes. Any other points, any specific points that we discussed, who someone would want to answer or highlight these points? That will be great.
Characteristics of sattvic, tamasic, and rajasic persons.
Yes, we learned the characteristics of the sattvic, tamasic, and persons, right? What are the characteristics? Does anyone want to talk about the goodness?
The time when he gets up, food which he eats.
Yes, very good. The time when someone wakes up, the food that someone eats, the dress. So everything and anything that we people go through, right from the way we approach, right from the day we start our day, right from the day we wear our clothes, right from the way we speak, what we eat. Are we eating sandwiches, or are we eating fresh cooked food? Or are we eating stored food or canned food? Everything matters as to what are we doing, how are we doing, which mode are we rightly placed. Everything counts when it comes to the modes. With that itself, we will be able to identify as to how the modes are working with us, and then that's exactly how we need to elevate our consciousness and rise above these modes, and then get to the mode of What is the mode that we should target? Do we remember?
Mode of goodness.
Mode of,
Shuddha Sattva.
yes,
Shuddha Sattva.
pure goodness we should target, which is Shuddha Sattva, which is above the modes of goodness, passion, and the tamasic mode. So we should try to be in the Shuddha Sattva. So we also learned, apart from the ABCD formula, we also learned about visiting a dham, which is a fifth part of it. The more we visit a dham, and the more we visit, not just to visiting a dham and taking a dip from the holy rivers, but rather to learn from a realized soul, right? Learn Krishna Katha from a realized soul, learn the teachings from a realized soul. That's what we have learned yesterday. And today we will talk on the important aspect in the Purushottama Yoga as to how one can detach, because the main link from yesterday and today is detachment. And that's exactly what we're going to learn in today, as to how one can detach and how we accept the Shastras and how we accept the teachings of Lord Krishna, and then move forward in the Purushottama Yoga. Okay, so let me put forward the screen here. Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare. Yes. Now I think the screen will be visible, right? Is the screen okay?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna mute you all with your permission, and then we will discuss this, and then at the end of the session we will take the question and answers, right? And in between, whenever there is engagement required, we will have a discussion basis that, right? So before we start off, again, let's offer our prayers to our gurus, our shastras, and all our sadhus, and also seek blessings from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so that we can move forward in this particular juncture, right? Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhavitamscha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Welcome once again. Okay, so the teachings that we're going to discuss today from this chapter, or from all the chapters that we are discussing, is from His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who is the founder, Acharya of International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Right, so this is what we learned, or we just did a recap in terms of chapter 14. We learned what these three modes of material nature are, how they work, how they bind the jiva totally, and how they can be destroyed by Krishna Bhakti. We have learned that yesterday, right? Regular chanting of it, regular what you call smaranam, mananam about the Lord, regular association, all those things, the way we change from small aspects of how we change our schedule and routine, everything will make a huge difference in our life, is what we have seen. But to attain devotion to Him, one needs detachment from the material world. We also learned that the material world is like Mahamaya, it's like a refinement center or a punishment center, like a jail. So that's what we need to detach from this particular material world, because there is a always or a constant sorry about that, there's a constant hankerings for material pleasures or intense lust and greed, with which we get into many and many sufferings of or the soul gets into many sufferings of anger and greed, because at times when we don't fulfill our lusty desires, we get into those modes, and at times it leads into anxiety and depression as well. So then that's exactly what the Lord is trying to say as to how one can detach from the material world. So that's where Krishna describes the Purushottama Yoga here. So Purushottama Yoga is again the most confidential part of it and the most essence and the essence of it, which we're going to see in the upcoming verses. Okay, so this particular chapter is again acronymed as HOME, HOME, which stands for H stands for hotel or home, where we're going to see in the first section, the first 5 verses, how we can become detached from the material world. And we see the options if we are not able to detach from the material world, what's going to happen, right? How the transmigration happens of the soul. And then we're going to see the maintainer. Who's the maintainer of this entire material world? We are already aware, but we will see some more concepts. We have seen he's what he call starting from his 10th chapter, that is the absolute truth. Then we saw the vibhutis, then we saw his Vishwarupa, so on and so forth, right? Then we saw how Prakriti acts on us on the 13th day. Then yesterday we saw the modes, and today we are seeing the yoga of the Supreme Person. We will see Krishna's position as our maintainer, where we can see him everywhere, and that's how we will know anything and everything. And finally, we will end the chapter with the essence, which is a summary of the Vedas and the Vedanta. What are the summaries of the Vedas and the Vedanta? Just like the other day, I hope you people remember, we learned there are 4 shlokas called as the Chatur Shloki Bhagavad Gita, which is from 10.8, 9, 10, and 11. That is 10.8 to 10.11 are the 4 shlokas which are called as the Chatur Shloki Bhagavad Gita. Here today we will see the 3 Shloki Bhagavad Gita from here. So there is an essence over here as well. Now, if you're wondering what is that and what is this, both are almost the same, right? But we will also learn what essence are we learning from the Vedas and the Vedanta, which is clearly explained in this particular 15th chapter. Yes, so sorry, Mr. Yeah, knowing Krishna means knowing everything. So that's how we will be able to be aware of understanding anything and everything about the Lord. Okay, so by now we are aware of the material world and the spiritual world. We have 2 words. One is the spiritual world and one is the material world, right? So we're going to go further with this particular context over here. Now, what do we see here in this particular screen? Let's try to engage a conversation for a minute or so.
Banyan tree,
Banyan
Banyan
tree.
tree.
Yes,
with a
perfect.
lot of branches, and it's difficult to identify the main root.
Oh,
Main tree.
And it is upside down.
Oh, yes, upside down.
okay. So there is no point in me asking questions. So you people are already aware. Okay. So
I
yes.
had read this.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much, Mataji. Yes, good that you read. Yes, good that you read this, so you will be able to relate what we discussed just now. So, for others who are wondering, what are I talking about this particular picture? This particular picture is a banyan tree, right? So, if we see the banyan tree, it is so complex. Now, with this particular picture, we can't identify where exactly is the main particular what you call offshoot or the main particular roots where there are, or which is the main trunk of the tree where it starts from, so on and so forth. We have no idea, right? We can say this one, this one, this one. So it is going everywhere here and there. So I would maybe we will try to explain as much we can in the first verse where Lord explains about this banyan tree. But I would recommend everyone should go through that particular website called as vedabase.com and then try to read the purport. The purport has a very beautiful explanation where Srila Prabhupada has explained various ways in terms of the banyan tree. You can do one thing. Okay, I forgot to share. We will share it right now. Search for the Vedabase app, which we were talking about, the Android app, which we said we will share it.
Okay.
Okay, just keep the link. Yeah, and the 11 Rudras also, it's already there. Maybe we can share it. Okay. So, yeah, coming back to this particular context which we were talking about, the reference, we will see why the Lord is referring over a banyan tree. Okay, so moving further, I will again try to mute you all.
Manu.
Okay, so here the Lord is trying to explain in the first verse. Let's try to understand what Lord is trying to explain in Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Urdhvamulam Adashakham Ashwatham Prayudhavyayam Chandamsi Yasya Parnani Yastam Vedasha Vedaved. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. That's what Lord is trying to explain in this particular reference or through this particular what you call verse, right? What does it mean? So you might be wondering, we have always seen a banyan tree with the what you call the trunk, and then we see the leaves upwards and so on and so forth. But from this picture, we saw that the roots are downwards, right? Then why Lord is trying to explain that the roots are upwards over here? So if we see, we have drawn a line here, right? So where do you think we will be able to identify such a tree where the roots are downwards, sorry, the roots are upwards and the branches are downwards? Let me engage a conversation. Where do you think we will be able to identify such a tree? Where,
reflection in the water.
yes, perfect answer. The reflection in the water is where we will be able to find out. Perfect answer. So what we are trying to say is, so at the top, this is the eternal real tree which is available in the spiritual world. So Lord is trying to give an analogy with a banyan tree, Ashwatham. So Ashwatham basically has two meanings, right? Here the Lord is meaning one with a banyan tree, and the second one is saying that Ashwatham means temporary, right? So this particular material world is temporary. So you might think, wait a minute, we learned in the 24 elements that what you call the material world is not temporary, in the sense it goes through annihilation. Material world eternally exists, which means Prakriti eternally exists. We learned on day one as well the 5 topics about Bhagavad Gita. But when I said temporary, the material world is temporary because we call it as creation annihilation, which is bhutva pralayate, right? That's what it happens to the material world. However, Prakriti or the so-called material nature is always permanent. That's what the Lord is trying to explain here, right? So this is the spiritual world, and the perverted reflection which we see, that is the material world. So if there is truth in the spiritual world, there is always lie, right? If there is a true ego in the material in the spiritual world, then there is always false ego here. So anything and everything that is there, it's a perverted reflection here. And the branches down and whose leaves are Vedic hymns, that's what it's being explained here. This is the main aspect of what the Lord is trying to explain here. And why the entire material world is compared to the banyan tree? Because there are many and many fruitive desires over here. We all are engaged in fruitive acts, just like in the purport, or our sadhus, spiritual masters have explained very nicely in terms of saying, just like a monkey hops from one branch to another, so we also hop from one body to another. So our soul hops from one body to another, where we are enjoying the fruits of it, right? After one body is done, we again transmigrate into another body and we continue to stay in it. So that's exactly how the banyan tree's roots are very, very deep rooted. So one might wonder as to which one is the branch and which one is it. That's how our desires are spread way beyond, just like the banyan tree, right? So what is the again, what is the reference of the Vedic hymns that are given here, so that one can elevate gradually from this particular material conditioned life and elevate ourselves, get connected to the Lord, and move forward to the spirituality, which is a Brahma Bhuta stage, which we learned yesterday, right? Where we are in a transcendental bliss with the Lord. Now, this particular illusion, how it can be dispelled? One who understands this indestructible tree. Why it is mentioned as indestructible tree? Because of the illusion. Once we get rid of the illusion, once we what you call come out of all these lust, greed, and anger, detach ourselves, that way we will be able to come out of this particular illusion. This is what is being trying to explain here. I'm sure if I ask one more question, so what is the way forward for us? The only way forward to come out of this particular illusion and connect to the Lord, the only way is the 9 processes of devotional service. Pick up one of the processes of devotional service and connect with the Lord. That's the only way we can detach from the material activities that we are going on day and night. So moving further, this is which you people are already aware of. In case we are not, we can have a quick discussion in terms of what is the spiritual world and what is the material world. The spiritual world is permanent. However, the material world is also, as we said, Prakriti is eternal, but it goes through what we call creation and annihilation. Creation and annihilation. That's the reason we call it as temporary, right? And then there is always true love over there, but here it's always lust. There is no true love here, it's always lust. True happiness and it's everlasting in the spiritual world. Temporary happiness, it's always temporary happiness here, right? True relationships when compared to the temporary relationships here, then there is no sadness over here, it's always dukkhalayam, right? This particular term is called as a dukkhalayam. Now there are 4 real problems. The 4 real problems are absent here, and there are 4 real problems that are present here. Does anyone would want to tell what are the 4 problems that we have in this material world?
cheating,
Birth, death,
propensity.
old age, and disease.
Yes, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi. Yes, perfect answer. Thank you so much. Perfect. Okay, so that's the reason Krishna is trying to compare this, or Krishna says that this is a hotel. Why hotel? Because let's assume that we check in a hotel, and what is our aim in checking in a hotel? So that we spend time over there in the hotel for a temporary purpose, for a couple of days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. Post that, we go back to our original home, which we call it as a home. But we don't take our posters over there, we don't take our clothes over there, we don't take our furniture, move all our entire furniture to a hotel. Rather, we stay there, spend some time as a temporary thing, and then we move back to what is called our real home. This shows that the spiritual world is full of variety, and it is totally undifferentiated. That's exactly what we can understand over here. But however, in this particular material world, while we are trying to create unnecessary variety and unnecessary chaos here. Right, so moving on to the second verse, we see how we are entangled, entanglement of the material world, right? Whatever we see over here, these are the specific terms that we have. cheating propensity, right? All we have is a cheating propensity. And then what do? We all always get into the impious acts, right? We always look for sense gratification, lust, greed, anger, desires, always sins. Very rarely we do pious acts, and many of us are also looking at doing only pious acts, right? That's what we think at. And then we get into many sense objects where we would want to gratify our senses, and that way we end up with attachments. So in this particular context, very neatly, these are the terms which are clearly explained here, right? Cheating propensity, lust, greed and anger, pious acts, everything that are there. If we see here, the desire is something which cannot be curtailed over here in this material world. And that's exactly why the sense objects of this particular tree, the twigs of this tree are considered as the sense objects. That's why I was trying to say, please try to go through the purport of Srila Prabhupada. It gives a very, very beautiful explanation, right? It also explains about the particular modes. We learn the particular modes based on the particular modes of the material nature, and that's how the jiva tries to act based on whatever mode the jiva is situated at that point of time. That's how we try to act in this material world, right? So the various manifestations are mentioned. Then it speaks about the branches. The branches has upper and lower planetary systems, the 14 planetary systems. All those things are explained. The twigs are referred to as the sense objects. What are the sense objects? Sabda, sparsha, rasa, rupa, gandha, which is sound, touch, form, and all those things which we learned. The five sense objects, those are being explained here. And the tips of the branches are explained in terms of eyes, ears, nose and all that. All those things are also explained as well. Okay, and the fruits, what are the fruits? Do you think, can anyone explain what might be the fruits? Can anyone give a guess? The fruitive desires are the fruits that we ultimate get into. The four things which we always aim for in material world, which we think that these are the only four things that are there in our life. Yes, Prabhu, go ahead. You want to give a try? Okay, I'll give you one more clue. They are the karmas of our jivas. What are the karmas of our jivas? Dharma, artha, moksha, and kama. This is what we think, right? So those are the fruits. That's what also being explained in the purports. When we go through the purports, we will understand the purports very well. Right. So that's exactly how, as in the material world, we keep hopping from one branch to another. You want to add something? Please
Yes,
add.
also if you see, it's very something that's very important over here that we see over here is that this tree has lower branches. The lower branches, we are seeing that there are animals at the lower branches, and also when you do whenever we are doing some activity, we create a pious act and an impious act. So whether you're doing a good job or a bad job, you're still growing this tree. And whenever this tree grows, it's not a good news for us, which means that we are trying to entangle ourselves. Remember, the root, the way it was trying to grow, the root itself keeps growing in such a way that the starting and the end point, or the starting and the middle point, doesn't get clearly shown. So we get into a vicious cycle. A vicious cycle means I'm trying to do one job, rather it comes into a cycle of 2 to 3 activities that gets entangled into it, and then there will be a new route that gets created. So that would be the vicious cycle. So how, whenever you're trying to this root is how can we detach this root is the major question. How can we detach? If one of you can, guess, how can we detach from this root, and how is this tree growing? How do you think this tree is growing? It's actually in this picture itself. Something is feeding the tree. So if you can guess what's feeding the tree and how can this tree grow?
What is feeding this tree? I think the
Our
answer is there.
desire.
Yes, the answer is there in the picture itself. Yes, our desires. If you see
Desire.
here, yes, our desires. So then how can we get rid of these desires?
So as and when we desire something, any desire can actually make this tree grow. So if you're desiring that you want to learn Vedas, that becomes one, the leaf has come out. And if you're thinking I want to have dharma, artha, kama, there you have fruits. And as per the fruits, you'll have to, you'll have to go through the required karma that you need to go through. So it becomes like I'm again entangling myself into karma. So how can we detach ourselves? Is coming actually.
Okay, so if we see at the top also, we see all the demigods. That's what it's trying to explain here, right? This is the desire, and the tops we see the demigods, and below we see the what you call all the jivas that we are, the living entities, and below we see and below we see all the animalistic life. That's what the entire tree is all about, which Lord is trying to explain here. Okay, so moving
And so whenever we are doing some act, we hop from one branch to another branch. So when we are doing some act, we come from economic development, which is artha, and then from artha you go to religiosity. Okay, now you're trying to follow some good rules, then you again hop to the branch of religiosity, and there is another fruit that grows. So dharma, artha, kama, moksha, which is liberation, which is lying on the top. This is how it keeps going. Our fruits keep going on ever. But when we talk about Krishna consciousness, it's beyond dharma, artha, kama, moksha, which is the roots, the urdhva moolam, which is lying in the spiritual world.
Yes, I'm not sure if you're audible or not. Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Are we audible?
Yes, yes. Hare Krishna.
Hare
I
Krishna.
can also see that desire, what it is written, desire in a big font, and that big desire. I understand that is also a river of Mohamaya, which we can cross and then reach out to Krishna.
Exactly. Very good point, Mataji. Thank you so much. The desire is where we have to detach. That is the main aspect
Ocean
that
of
we are. That's a ocean. The ocean of desire is where we need to desire. That's where we have to desire. We have to cut that off. That's what we are trying to ask here by saying, how can you cut the tree? The only way to cut the tree is, let's see that further in the upcoming slides. How do I get out of this material world? The only way to get out of this material world is cutting down the tree. And how do we cut the tree? The only way out is detachment, right? How do we detach ourselves? By gaining proper knowledge about the Lord and Jiva and the relationship. That's how we will be able to get into this and then surrender to Krishna. If we don't do this, then we will not be able to, right? It's clearly written in the verses asanga sastrena dridhena chitva. It means dridhena chitva means with a firm determination one must cut down this particular tree strongly, because this particular tree is strongly rooted. And what is the weapon that we need? The weapon that we require is detachment. Without this particular weapon of detachment, we will not be able to cut the tree. That is the only way to detach ourselves from the tree. So we have to find one who is in a good knowledge, who has a proper knowledge of the Shastras, right? And then we need to surrender to the Lord with full faith, and then that way we will be able to attain to the eternal abode. But if we are in illusion, we do not have faith, if we do not want to surrender, if we start what you call what you call thinking on our own, getting into all sorts of assumptions and all that, we will not be able to do that. The best part of it is about faith in our spiritual master. We will try to see that. Arjuna pondered, how do I cultivate this particular detachment, O Lord? Can you please help me understand? So that is where the Lord tries to say here, only by surrender, right? Only by surrender. But who will be able to surrender to Krishna is the main question. The question, right? So let's hear the verse. Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivretta kamaha dvandher vimukta sukha dukha samdhe gachyanta mudha padamavyayam. right? So we are trying to talk about detachment over here, and the only way that one will be able to detach is to surrender to Krishna, right? How do we surrender to Krishna? Nirmana. Why? One who, what does eh, sorry about that. Okay, so how do we detach? What does it mean? It means nirmana. Nirmana means one who is free from false prestige and pride, right? So we do not take pride in terms of, oh, who is the spiritual master? I don't think he knows anything much. I think I know way better than this particular master, right? We do not have faith. We keep judging anyone and everyone. So one who is free from false prestige and pride, right? Second one, moha, freedom from illusion. That's what Lord is trying to explain here. Nirmana, moha, right? Jita Shanga dosha, what does it mean? False association. Detach ourselves from the false association or a false friend circle. Then it's talking about Adhyatma Nitya, one who understands the eternal. What is the eternal? If we can understand that part, that is the knowledge which the Lord is talking about. We have already read right from chapter 2, then we ventured into chapter 4. We learned about the transcendental knowledge, so on and so forth. We learned various knowledges where the Lord has tried to explain us, and who are done with material lust. What is material lust? Which is Dvander Vimukta. Dvander Vimukta means freedom from dualities, hotness, coldness, summer, winter, right? Sad, happy, all those. And who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who, unbewildered, know how to surrender to the Supreme Person and attain to that eternal kingdom. That is what Lord is trying to explain in terms of Vinivritta Kamaha, right? Vinivritta Kamaha and Amudha Padam Avyayam Tad. That's what the Lord is trying to explain in this person. These are the persons who will be able to understand, right? One should develop the spiritual knowledge, cultivate this knowledge. That's exactly why we have to get into the 9 stages of devotional service, try to understand them, at least pick up one. And the main two are hearing, Shravanam Kirtanam, right? If one gets into the conditioned state of nirmana means with the because of false prestige, what one will happen? We get puffed up. The more we get puffed up, we think ourselves that we know anything and everything, right? Oh, I know this. Oh, I can do this. Just like what we learned yesterday in the mode of goodness, we feel that don't worry, I'm already working on this particular aspect, so I know everything about this, right? So you don't even have to worry, and we judge the other person literally. So that is where we get puffed up. So the only solution is cultivate knowledge to know that I am a soul and my eternal constitution is to serve the Lord, and I am not the body. The more we get to understand that, and I'm a spiritual spark of the complete whole, that is how we will be able to free from this material world. That's what we have been trying to explain here. These are the certain things which we just learned: freedom from false ego and freedom from illusion, that this belongs to me and I'm everything, right? We are covered with this illusion. The more we come out of that maya, javanika channam, that's what we will be able to, right? False identification with the body, that's how we are trying to identify ourselves with the body. That's where the dual conceptions comes into picture in terms of happiness and sadness. All those things comes into picture, and this is how we are illusioned with anything and everything, that I am super talented and so on and so forth, I am the best. This is how we get into saying aham mameti. Everything we call it as aham mameti. So once we get into the stage of, well, I'm a fool who left the abode of Krishna and suffering here, that's where we will free ourselves from the false prestige. Till that time, we will not be able to free ourselves from the false prestige. But it will be way too long by the time we recognize that. That's exactly why we emphasize on instilling this to our kids right from the time they are born. right? Get into Bhagavad Gita, teach the aspects of Bhagavad Gita, give them the right aspect of Bhagavad Gita, teach them the good concepts. So that's how. Do not think that Prabhu or Mataji, it's way too late right now to inculcate these concepts. Nothing is late. We can still inculcate these concepts within them. They are the way we can, they are just like in the Shastras it's written, we can mold them the way we want to. It is not too late at all. So that if we keep saying that everything is Krishna's mercy, that's how we will be able to free from illusion. Moving further, Arjuna pondered, what if one doesn't attain to the spiritual world? What options does one have? That's what Lord is trying to, Arjuna is trying to ask the question, what options will one have? He's trying to ask here, right? We need to understand that the real tree or the real ashwatham or the banyan tree is the spiritual world. It's not the material world. We are like a upside down. So this particular shloka, what we call, gives that information about it. Let's try to see what it talks over here. न तद् भाषयते सूर्यो न शशाङ्को न पावकः यद्गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम. The supreme abode of mine is not illuminated by the sun or the moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. So that's what he's trying to say. Why there is no need of any light source in the spiritual world? Because everything is illuminated by him, right? Everything is illuminated by him. But while here, also in the material world, everything is illuminated by him with the sun and the moon, which are like his eyes. But still there is some constant in terms of we need electricity and fire and so on and so forth. That's exactly what Lord is trying to explain here, that we are conditioned soul and given an opportunity in this particular material nature, that we are here as jivas. We need to focus on the lotus feet of the Lord, and we need to understand the importance of paramam mama, right? We need to understand that, and that's how the only way to activate our soul, our dormant soul, is to surrender. And that is exactly how we need to get over there, because there is no need of a sun, moon or star in the spiritual sky. That is exactly what the Lord is trying to explain here. So here we have also we can understand from this particular verse that we are literally conditioned. In the previous verse, in the 6th verse, right, we are in the mode of a darkness, and the darkness is also called as a material world. The only way we can come out or detach ourselves from the darkness is by getting into the stage of liberation. Now, how do we what we call liberate ourselves? Is it by wearing a saffron cloth and becoming a sannyasi? No, by continuing doing our prescribed duties, and by continuing our what we call nitya duties as well. What are nitya duties? Which is where we are trying to connect with the Supreme Lord, do the ABCD principles, right? Every time and every getting into immerse into the devotional service. That's how we will be able to do. The more we practice seriously, the more we will be able to. And the most easiest way is also to associate with devotees, like-minded devotees who are already into Krishna consciousness. Remember, we spoke about 3 types of devotees, which are at the Kanishta level, Madhyama level, and the Uttama level, right? You need to what you call try to associate with those kind of devotees. That's exactly how we will be able to understand. So we learned about a lot of contaminations, how we people are contaminated by the modes in the previous chapter, the way we eat, the way we sleep, our patterns, our schedules and everything. That's how we will be able to take care of ourselves in terms of as and when we change our schedules. Now here we will see what is the identity of a living entity, and what are we and who is our real father. ममैवांशो जीवलोके जीवभूतः सनातनः मनः षष्ठानि इन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the 6 senses. We know that the 5 senses are there, then which is the 6th sense, which includes the mind. The mind is called as the 6th sense. identifying the living entities. That's what it's being explained here. Right. So the original position, what is our original position? That we are the living entities and we should be truly or eternally connected to the Lord, and we should always serve the Lord because we are a spiritual spark and we are parts and parcels of the Krishna, of Lord Krishna. And we belong to the Supreme Lord and to the spiritual world. But due to our free will, where we wanted to lord over, that's how we are entangled in this material world and hopping from one branch to another, from one body to another, with our constant or intense desire of greed, lust, or anger, or whatever we call it. The only way is to cut or detach ourselves with the strong weapon. And that's exactly why we are struggling very hard over here. So in also Srila Prabhupada has given a detailed explanation in terms of how almost each and every word in terms of like karshati, where we are struggling and grappling in this particular material world. In the purport, he's given a very beautiful explanation. We can, if you are able to go through it, it's nothing like it. You will be able to understand way further, right? The qualities of the living entities are explained again and again, that we are the minute independencies, and because of our minute independence we want to lord over anything and everything. But however, if we properly utilize our senses and focus on the lotus feet of the Lord and service religiously, yes, we will be able to get liberated. We can clear all our contaminations and sins as well. Right, moving further, this is what it's being explained as well, also a little bit over here in terms of the living entity, the quality with Krishna. What are the qualities? What are we trying to explain? If we see this, we have taken fire. This is an analogy. So if we see the fire in this area, this Lord is like the entire fire, right? He's also, Krishna is Satchitananda, we are also Satchitananda, right? However, we are the spiritual sparks, right? While the quality is the same, which is Satchitananda, however, the quantity is not the same here, right? We are the spiritual spark, and this is the entire whole, is what we are trying to show here in this picture, just for our understanding. Sorry?
It symbolizes Mami Vamsha.
Yeah, it symbolizes the term Mamaiva Amsha. Amsha, we are the Amshas of the Lord. Mamaiva Amsha. That's what Lord is trying to explain here. Okay, so again, it's like a thought. Oh, if we still don't surrender to the Lord and try to understand Krishna, what's next? What would happen to me if I still want to continue to lord over and still do not want to surrender? What will happen to me? Let's try to understand this from the next verse. Then we will get into the mode of something called as transmigration. What exactly is transmigration? We will see, and how does it help, and how does it takes place. Shariram yadavapnoti yachapi utkramatishvarah grihitaittvani samyati vayurgandhani vashayat. The living entity in this material world carries his different conceptions of life. Now, what are conceptions? Are subtle interactions, are karmas and subtle interactions that are there, carries from one life to another, from one body to another. How does he carry? So there is an analogy which the Lord has given as well. Just like the air carries the aromas, right? So when we are in a park or in a particular area with the, just like the flowers, the aroma it carries throughout, we see that the entire environment is filled with a good aroma. That's exactly how we carry from one particular body to another body is being explained here. Thus he takes one kind of a body and again quits it to another, right? That's exactly how we take care here. So the word Ishvara, that refers to the living entity as the controller of the body. Remember, Lord is called as Parabrahman, we are also called as Brahman, right? So we are talking about the control of the body. Who's the control of the body? The soul, and also the super soul who's there within us is the controller, right? So what is the meaning of karshati? Karshati means that is called as transmigrating. We are transmigrating from one body to another and struggling while being within the body, right? And what are we struggling for? Struggling for existence. That's what the Lord is trying to explain here again and again, again and again, right? And how are we transmigrating from one body to another? On the basis of our karma. Subtle body carries the conceptions of our life. That's what is being explained here. Moving on further, this is again the explanation over here in terms of transmigration. It's clearly explained. Adhishtya manaschayam vishayan upasevate, right? So we take one gross body to another gross body. See here, the entire transmigration is taking place from one gross body to another gross body. We also learned this, that there are almost 84 lakh species and we go through them. Now, how do we attain that? Through a certain type of these senses. The five senses are attained, which are grouped with the mind, which is the sixth one. So including the mind, the six senses, it moves from one body to another, and that's how we enjoy the sense objects from one body to another, and it's going on and going on, going on and going on, and that's how we are enjoying. In the ninth verse, that's the continuation here. The living entity thus takes another gross body, obtains a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. That is being clearly explained here in this particular verse, right? So spirit soul, as we all know, the spirit soul is originally pure. Why? Because the spirit soul was always connecting with the Lord, which is like Krishna conscious. The spirit soul was always, the symptom of the soul is consciousness, and it's always connecting to the Lord. So the original consciousness is very pure, just like water. The water is just like pure. That's exactly what it's we are trying to explain here. So how we can elevate our consciousness? We can elevate our consciousness by changing according to the association of the material qualities that we have, or the material propensities that breed within us. That's how we will be able to do it. Unless we change those patterns within us, we will not be able to do it. That's what the Lord is trying to explain here. Right, moving further. Fools cannot understand or see this truth, right? And he's very firm. Lord is very firm, and he gives a straightforward saying, Mudhas cannot understand or see the truth. The foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of the nature. But one whose eyes are trained in the knowledge can see all this. The fools, they come up with their limited or the little mundane knowledge, and they try to lord over. No matter how much ever we give them the evidence or the references, they will not be able to understand. That is exactly why people will not be able to see the change within the body that is happening. Now, if you, I don't know how many of you people will agree, we have also are expanding ourselves. There are so many incarnations that are happening with our body. What do I mean by incarnations? Right from the way we are born with a tiny, and then we are growing, 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 right? We see this here ourselves. We were very tiny, and then we grow, we grow, we grow, we grow. However, the soul doesn't grow. The soul remains the same. What grows is our body that keeps growing. That is how we are incarnating within ourselves. But however, the Vimudha, which is a foolish person, they cannot see, right? Whereas the ones who are able to see are the knowledgeable people. Why? How they are able to see? Because they have the Jnana Chakshu. That's how they are able to see. And what is Jnana Chakshu? Not with the mundane knowledge that we are learning from the day-to-day world. However, the knowledge which we need to, the transcendental knowledge or the spiritual knowledge that we need to learn from the scriptures, from the shastras, and from a sadhu, and from a spiritual master. That's exactly why Jnana Chakshu is very, very important. That's what we have learned day before yesterday as well, that we need the eyes, we need the trained eyes which are in knowledge under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual knowledge, with under the bona fide spiritual master. And without this knowledge, one will not be able to see things clearly, And what kind of knowledge again are we talking about? To emphasize, we are talking about the philosophy or the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and the scriptures from the bona fide sampradayas only. That is how we will be able to see the things as it is rather than our illusion. Right, this is what we learned. Oh, so how will one get attracted to you then? Again, we are talking about if we are still, somebody is still not able to understand the truth, what would happen to them? How will one get attracted to Lord Krishna is what we are trying to understand from the following verses or this particular section. So Lord is trying to say the Krishna is everything and maintains everything. How does he maintain? He is the maintainer of the gross body, right? The gross body is made up of air, earth, water, and all those things which we have learned. He's the maintainer of the gross body, right? He's the origin of the sun, moon, and the fire. We also learned that, right? Everything we learned that. And he is the one who is giving us the energy of life. That is what we have learned, right? Krishna is a maintainer. How he is the maintainer? He is the one who is floating and he's holding the entire of all the planets, right? Through his energies, anything and everything he takes care of. There is an internal energy and the external energy which we have also discussed. He holds the entire earth, he takes care of the entire universe, he's holding on to it. The vegetables are being nourished. How are the vegetables being nourished? With his glance. The moon gives the information. We have seen the cycle of sacrifice. I hope you people all remember all the juices he gives in. We discussed in what he called day 4 and day 5 as well, right? That's how everything comes from the Lord. The sun and the moon, everything. He's there in every anu, every atom as a Paramatma in the living entities. He's there in our heart as a Paramatma, and we have seen that as well. In Brahma Samhita also there are various references, right? And just like the planets are being held, if we see very beautifully, it is elaborated in with various references of Upanishads and also Brahma Samhita in the purports. You can refer. You will see that Lord is holding them like a fistful of dust. All the planets and everything is holding them just like that. So we also learned in the Chaturshloki Gita, right? What was the Chaturshloki Gita? The first
Aham
one.
Aham
अहम सर्वस्य प्रभो मतः सर्वं प्रवर्तिते इति मत्वा भजते माम बुध भाव समान्विता, right? I am the source of everything. He discussed over there, he declared it over there, right? That's how we know that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the source of the sun and the moonshine as well. With the moonshine we are able to nourish the vegetables and the vegetables become delicious as well. So without the supply of anything and everything, it cannot become rasatmakaha. That's how the Lord is trying to explain there in these verses 12 and 13. Moving further, we will see how Krishna is again anything and everything here, right? Aham Vaishwanaro Bhutva Praninam Dehamashritah Pranapana Samayuktah Pachami Annam Chaturvidham. I am the fire of digestion, right? So Lord is declaring again here that I am the digestive fire in the bodies of all living entities, and I join with the air of life, outgoing and incoming, to digest the four kinds of food stuff. For people, so far we have learnt in our so-called knowledge from our school knowledge or academic knowledge that it goes from the mouth, the esophagus, digestive juices are there within our body, liver takes care of it, blah blah blah, so much. However, he is the digestive fire, right? There are Pachami Annam Chaturvidham. Chaturvidham means there are four kinds of foodstuffs that are there, which is explained over here in this particular verse, which is clearly explained. One which are being licked, one which are being swallowed, one which we chew, and the others which are we suck them and we eat them. Those are the four kinds of foodstuffs which are there, and he is the digestive fire in our stomach, and that's how the food is sent there, and that's how he's the one who's ensuring that the food is digested. So if the fire is not blazing throughout, then at times you will see that at times we don't feel hunger because the food is not digested. It means it is not acting properly. That's exactly how we need to understand that, because that's exactly how he's situated in our stomach as the digestive fire. So the main essence of this particular verse is, to digest we need Krishna's energy, and we Krishna's energy as a fire and the life air. That's exactly what we can understand from this. Sorry about that.
Hare Krishna.
सर्वस्य चाहं हृदि सन्निविष्टो मत्तस्मृतिर्ज्ञानमपोहनं च वेदैश्च सर्वैरहमेव वेद्यो वेदान्तकृत् वेदविदेव चाहम्.
So here Krishna is saying that I'm seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I'm the compiler of the Vedanta, and I'm the knower of the Vedas. So Sarvasya Chaham. So he's saying Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Sannivishto. So he is the one who's sitting in everyone's heart. We saw that how Paramatma is Krishna, and he's sitting in everyone's heart, and hence Matta Smritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. So here we know that he is the one who is giving us remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Vedashta Sarver Ahameva Vedyo. Actually, he is the one who is he is the Vedas. He is the Vedas and Vedanta Sutras and Vedantas, and he's a compiler of the Vedas. We know that Srila Vyasadeva is the one who compiled the Vedas, and Srila Vyasadeva is actually an incarnation of Krishna himself. So Krishna has come in the form of Srila Vyasadeva, and he wrote all the Vedas and also Vedanta Sutra. And here he gave Bhagavad Gita, which are two of them. And here in case of Bhagavad Gita was also given to us, and also Srimad Bhagavatam was also given. So this way he is the compiler of the Vedanta and Vedas. So we have to understand that when we are saying that Krishna is the supreme personality, he is the one who is giving us all the evidences as well. And this is a very, very important shloka, because first of all he has given us this body. The Supreme Lord has given us this body, because yes, the soul is actually the spiritual spark. But when we come to this material world, Krishna gives us the body, and also at the same time he lets us do what we want to. And at the same time he is the one who's giving this Bhagavad Gita, which is a rule book on how we can elevate our consciousness to go back to the spiritual world. So he's giving all the required ammunitions, and we need to make use of this so that we can go back to the spiritual world. So this defines how there are three stages of perfection. So one is that we need to know that Paramatma, in the form of Paramatma, Krishna is the Supreme Lord, is in everyone's heart. He's all pervading, and also he's the initiator of all the activities, where Supreme Lord is the one who's witnessing of all our past and present acts. And also he is a living entity in accordance with, where we are having past deeds recorded. All our past deeds, all our good deeds and bad deeds are recorded, and Lord is giving us this forgetfulness and knowledge and everything. Apart from that, he's showing us the direction. So when we pray that I want to be directed in a proper way, he gives us the knowledge. It's not like he will give everything that's required. He'll give what is asked. He gives according to our, when we ask, he gives that I want to do this. He shows us the direction from within, and he also awards differently as per the fruits that is requested by us. So this is the second part. And the third part is Supreme Lord is the as Vyasadeva, he comes down and he gives us this rule book so that we can make use of it. He gave us the Vedanta Sutra and also the Srimad Bhagavatam, and Vedas give us the right direction to mold ourselves to go back to Godhead. So Vedas are provided for perfection in three stages. Like he gives us how we can build a relationship with him, the Sambandha Jnana, where we can build a relationship with him, and also what is the process of going back, and also how we can reach the ultimate goal, and what is the ultimate goal. We need to understand it like that. And in the 16th, 17th and 18th shlokas, these are very, very important shlokas. This is a very important part, because not only we told that there is something called as confidential knowledge and also more confidential knowledge and most confidential. We saw in the confidential in the second chapter that the so we are not this so we are not this body, rather we are this soul. And in the more confidential knowledge we saw that Krishna and our relationship with about the Paramatma, we understood that part. And the most confidential knowledge we came how Krishna reciprocates, and also we are eternally his we are serving him. This we understood in the most confidential knowledge. But how come there is one more, the Trishloki coming up? And also we saw in the 10th chapter Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo, we saw that he is the source
Essence
of
of everything.
everything. So there we also saw Sambandha Jnana, Abhidheya Jnana, and also the Prayojana Jnana. But here, these Trishloki Gita, Bhagavad Gita is actually the essence of the Vedas and Vedantas. So not only about Bhagavad Gita, this is about the entire Vedas and Vedanta Sutra. This is summary of all the Vedas and Vedantas. So how do we understand this? Here in the 16th shloka, Krishna is saying there are two classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible. In the material world, every living entity is fallible, and in the spiritual world, every living entity is infallible. So, how do we understand this? So, because we are conditioned, the living entities are fallible. Fallible means there is a possibility of making errors and making mistakes. So, this is how conditioned living entities are fallible, and living entities are in harmony with the Lord's creation. Whenever we are in the spiritual world, we are living in harmony with the Lord's creation, and hence we are actually we are infallible in the spiritual world. And the second part is the second part that so the first part is there are two, which is fallible and infallible, which is one is fallible in the material world, another one is infallible in the spiritual world. And second thing is, besides these two, there is a greatest living personality, the supreme soul, the imperishable Lord himself, who has entered the three worlds and maintaining them. So beyond the fallible and the infallible, there is a transcendental supreme person, and this supreme person is the super soul who is maintaining the three worlds. And we know it, we've learned the creation part in the 9th chapter and the 10th chapters, where Krishna enters into the first Krishna enters into creating universes as a Paramatma, and again he enters into each and every
Anda.
universe. Yes, he Anda, which is he's Paramatma of that particular Anda as a Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, and also he enters into each and every living entity. This is how he is maintaining the three worlds, maintaining this becoming a Paramatma into each and every world. And the last one, what we understand here is that because I'm transcendental, beyond the fallible and the infallible, and because I'm the greatest, I'm celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as supreme person. So here we have to understand that Krishna is celebrated both in this world and also in the Vedas as a supreme person, as a super soul. He has been revered. So in the 16th shloka, there are two kinds of living entities. We saw fallible, who is conditioned, and in the which are in the material world, and one which is infallible is liberated in the spiritual world. These are the two living entities. And second, supreme soul is the master of both. So he is the master of both fallible and infallible. He is the greatest personality. He enters three worlds and maintains them. And the third, Krishna says, I am the supreme soul celebrated both in this world and also in the Vedas as the supreme person. So this is how it's like fallible and infallible becomes like material and spiritual worlds. So there are two classes of men. This is the three shloki Gita, which is essence of the entire all the Vedas and Vedanta sutras. And we see in the 19th shloka that whoever knows me as a person, as the personality of Godhead, without doubting is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. So here we understand that who is the knower of everything is what is established in the shloka. So who is the knower of everything? One who knows me as the supreme personality without doubting. So the condition is one who knows Krishna without doubting. Here we see that without doubting, one who knows Krishna is the one who knows everything. And what is the result of knowing this? That, without doubting, if you know Krishna, what is the result of such things? He can engage in devotional service. So we should not doubt the Shastras because they are actually pramana in themselves. And also, why they are pramana in themselves? Because they are Krishna themselves. It's written by Krishna and they are given by Krishna himself, and that's why we should not be doubting the Shastras which we have been establishing. Now, also in the one who understands this, only when you are able to understand this Vedanta Sutra, we are able to perform devotional service. Now, in the 20th shloka, we come across that this is most confidential part of Vedic scriptures. So this is even more important. He's saying this is the most confidential part of Vedic scriptures itself. O sinless one, this is the coined word, O sinless one, where and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will become perfection. Now we can't ignore this word where Krishna is calling Arjuna as O sinless one. Means O sinless one is the most qualifying part. How? So first part of this shloka, it's saying knowledge is explained in the chapter as essence of Vedanta, and Vedanta as most like we are the parts and parcels. And what is the result of all of this? That one will meet perfection. What is the qualification? The qualification for one to be sinless one, that is the qualification to know that this Purushottama Yoga is, we should be sinlessness. So what is sinlessness? So it's saying the shloka also says iti guhyatamam shastram. Guhyatamam shastram means guhyatamam of all the shastra. Iti guhyatamam shastram idamuktam mayanagha etad buddha buddhiman syat krita kritasya bharata. Means this is the most confidential part of the scriptures. So one should be sinless. Sorry about that. Yeah, so one should be sinless. Sinlessness is very important term over here. Why? Because we can understand Krishna only when we become sinlessness. So it implies that one should be free from all the sinful reaction, and it's difficult to go ahead to become a very sinlessness. How do we get that? We should understand that we are actually having so many desires. This particular chapter started with desires. That was the root. So when we have that desire to lord over the material nature, automatically that lording over the material nature becomes our weakness of the heart, and lording over makes one attached to the matter, and it becomes like we want to possess that matter. So let's say somebody says you have one of your favorite possession. If we take it away, are you able to live without that? So that is the most biggest problem that we have, that we get attached to the matter. So Krishna is saying that you should not get attached, and when you get attached, it becomes one of your weaknesses. So he's saying sinlessness is the most confidential thing. So that's why he calls him Anagha, where he is spotless, and one should become spotless like Arjuna, like he calls him sinless one, so that we all should endeavor to be sinless, so that we can understand this knowledge. And how are we doing that? We are trying to do that by taking the shelter on lotus feet of Krishna, by chanting. So when we chant, automatically all our hearts get purified, and we are very fortunate that we have come across in the times where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given this benediction of he's given this holy name of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, through which we can do it all easily. And it describes this that where it describes how to free oneself. That is 15.1 shloka to 5th shloka. We saw how it describes how to free oneself. That is dridena chitva. We should remove our weaknesses, and
with the strong
with
weapon
the
of
strong weapon of-
detachment. Yeah.
Yes, with the strong weapon of detachment, that is Dridena Chitva, we need to remove this and detach ourselves, and we need to cleanse ourselves. This is the essence of the Vedic scriptures. And we see that once when we cleanse our heart, when we become sinlessness, we are able to at least understand Krishna and his glories, where we see how in the spiritual world there is exchange of love everywhere, and it was always we have in the form of Sumangala, and everyone actually are very nicely exchanging their friendship with Krishna, and also everybody wants to feed Krishna and make Krishna reciprocate with him. And we have the cows who are very very happy wherever they are. They feel Krishna is only talking to me. Wherever Krishna is, they feel that okay, Krishna is actually only reciprocating with me. Everybody feels like they are following only Krishna. So this is how he reciprocates in various ways to the all the living entities in the spiritual world. And once you reach the spiritual abode, you don't feel any sadness, rather you're eternally happy, where in the material world we see dualities. With this we should try to chant the holy name in the Kali Yuga, so that we can go back to the spiritual abodes. And we just saw that this place that we are in actually is a hotel. It's only to revive our consciousness, so that we can go back to our real home, which is the spiritual world, and become detached from this world, is what we established in the first 5 shlokas, where we can why are we detaching ourselves? Because if you don't detach, it will become our weakness. So sometimes, if we have to give an example, if we are living in a particular place, we become very attached to that. This place is very comfortable, I have grocery next to me, I have this, I have that. I just become very attached to that place, but that becomes our weakness also, that we can't move out of such a place. In the same way, we have to understand that all of this is fine, that we have such great friendship and relatives and everything, but it is a very temporary world. And if you're not thinking that this is not bad enough, that this is a hotel and we should move out of this place, and if you don't think Krishna is giving us enough of options, Krishna says, okay, if you're not able to do that, then we'll have to go through transmigration again. You have to again go through the 4 process of birth, death, jara vyadhi, janma mrityu, jara vyadhi, janma mrityu, jara vyadhi. It keeps going on. So if you're not able to take up Krishna's path, you'll have to go through janma mrityu, jara vyadhi. That is another option. Otherwise, you have to understand Krishna. We have to understand Krishna, at least understand Krishna, how he is maintaining, and Krishna's position of how he is the maintainer of everything. And also Krishna personally gives the essence of all the Vedanta and Vedanta sutras. And in also the last part, that is the 20th shloka, we saw that the essence of the Vedic scriptures is giving. So knowing Krishna
The entire
means
summary was given.
yes, knowing Krishna means knowing everything. That's why this chapter is the most important one amongst all. Hari Krishna.
With this,
We can all
close.
chant.
We can all chant. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's it. Okay, we'll stop the screen sharing here and we will see. Okay. Yes, Anish Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I want to ask that whenever we are in this material world, we have the material body with some defects. So in the spiritual world, how the body is characterized into which means body has how many characterized, I can say.
Prabhuji, the way we have the 3 modes of material nature who are controlling in the material world, like that we will have the mellows in the spiritual world, like
the
you are in
transcendental mellows.
Yes, so there
or
you
the
will,
rasas.
the rasas are controlling the spiritual world. So there you have Yogamaya potency who is controlling. So there you can feel transcendental happiness through Yogamaya potency. I think Prabhuji got the answer. He's lowered the hand.
Okay.
Radhika Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please go ahead.
Yeah. Hare Krishna Mataji, Prabhuji.
Hare
Actually,
Krishna.
I don't. Yeah, I don't have any question, but my daughter is small and she wanted to talk to you in between the lecture only. So I told her it is better that like the lecture get over. Actually, she knows the 12th adhyay. So
Very well.
she will speak 2-3. I told her that don't go for whole because everybody has to ask the question. So she's ready to speak at least 2-3, recite 2-3 shlokas and all. So
Please, please get her on, Mataji. Please get her on. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
ॐ श्री परमात्मने नमः अथ द्वादशोऽध्यायः अर्जुन उवाच एवं सततयुक्ताये भक्तास्त्वां पर्युपासते ये चाप्यक्षरमारक्तं तेषां के योगवित्तमः श्रीभगवानुवाच मय्यावेशमनो ये मां नित्ययुक्ता उपासते श्रद्धया परयोपेतास्ते मे युक्ततमा मतः ये तु सर्वाणि कर्माणि त्वक्षरमनेतेष्य अव्यक्तं पर्युपासते सर्वत्र गमचिन्त्यं च कूटस्थमचलं ध्रुवं सन्नियम्येन्द्रियं सर्वत्र समबुद्धयः ते प्राप्नुवन्ति मामेव सर्वभूतहिते रताः क्लेशोऽधिकतरस्तेषाम् अव्यक्तां सप्तचेतसाम् अव्यक्ता हि गते दुःखं देहवद्वीरवाप्यते.
Okay, done. Say
Hari Bol. Yes, what is your name?
Hare Krishna.
My name is Ridhima.
What Ridhima. Did you say Ridhima?
Ridhima.
Hari Bol. How old are you, Ridhima?
I am 6 years old.
Okay, so 6 years old. So very soon you can teach your mama all the shlokas. Teach one by one to your mama. Okay? Your mama doesn't know anything. Yes.
One day teach daddy.
Yes. One day you can teach to daddy and one day you can teach to mama. They don't know anything. Okay? You only have to teach them everything. Okay?
But I have a book so then they can read. But I know how to do. There was a teacher named Didima. So I can teach and I can say, Daddy can do everything. Say me the shlok.
Hari Bol. Yes.
She's got an amazing voice, Mataji. Very, very blessed child. She's got lovely voice.
Thank you.
Hari Bol. Okay. Yes, Ridhima, come tomorrow also. We want to hear from you tomorrow also.
Nah, actually, she's watching me like from first day that I'm attending all the class. So she's coming and see who is listening. And today, she stood up there only that I wanted to listen this. I wanted to talk to them. I said, not now. Don't disturb them now. Afterwards, I will raise hand and I will because she knows that raise hand all because of the online classes and all. So.
Very nice, Mataji. Very nice that she's able to learn at 6 years old. It's very good.
Hari Bol.
Yes.
You have a book as well. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Yes.
Mataji wants to say.
And that book also we are having ISKCON wala book also we are having. So every day she is seeing us. We are taking books. We are reading.
This one.
Very good. See, all are looking at you now and all are very happy. Okay? So continue reading and start teaching all the shlokas to your mama and papa.
You're racing all of us.
Yeah. And this book
Okay, let others talk. No. We will again.
only one. And in this book, this is all my slok, mommy's slok, daddy's slok, but the zero slok, daddy and mommy and me slok, so I can read it.
Okay, so be tomorrow by 7:30. Be ready. We will want to listen to you more tomorrow. Okay, be ready before 7:30. Hari bol.
Hari bol.
Hare
Hari bol,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Ruchi Mataji, please go ahead.
Ma'am, you described about the three worlds. I'm little confused. One is a Garbhodakshay Vishnu.
Yes.
Second is Kiranodakshay Vishnu. That is in every particle.
Karanodakshay Vishnu.
And
Mataji,
third one.
Mataji,
Pardon?
first is Karanodakashayi Vishnu. First, Krishna incarnates himself into Karanodakashayi Vishnu, where he's creating the globes, the universes.
Okay, okay.
Which is
That
called
is
as
the
the
first
Mahavishnu.
Paramatma. That is the first Paramatma of the entire universes.
Okay.
All the universe. So he's the Karana. He's the cause of all the causes. The yeah, Karana. So he's the cause of all the causes. He becomes Karanodakashayi Vishnu. Next is the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, who's Nabhi. From his Pankaj Nabhi, all the 14 planetary systems come.
And
Very
we are also,
sleepy.
in Garbh, right?
Yes, no, yeah, but Mataji, we have to understand that he is the Paramatma of the one universe, of that universe, wherever he is in.
Garbhodakshay Vishnu.
So Karanodakashayi is the Paramatma of all the universes, and Garbhodakashayi Vishnu is the Paramatma of that universe, and the third one, Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, the one who is in our hearts, all our hearts. He is the third Paramatma.
Okay. So second, the Garbhodakshay Vishnu, there has to be many Garbhodakshay Vishnus, na? Because there are many galaxies around.
Yes,
Correct.
yes.
So Garbhodakshay enters into each and every universes into the Garbha, and he's managing all the entire 14 planetary systems. You are right. So he enters into each and every universe. And who is there in each and every atom and each and every particle or living entity or jiva is the Kshirodakshay.
Paramatma.
That's the Paramatma. So who's there within us is the Kshirodakshay
Kshira.
Vishnu.
Kshirodakshay Vishnu. Okay, okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Hare
Yeah,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you. Sri Vidya.
Yes, Sri Vidya Mataji, please go ahead. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
There is a place where you mentioned about Krishna saying about forgive remembrance, and he gives us the remembrance, and he gives us the forgetfulness. Is this forgetfulness anyway related to forgiveness, or is there anywhere where he has advised us on forgiveness?
Not forgiveness, Mataji, forgetfulness.
Forgetfulness.
So when we are born, when we are moving from one body to another body, what happens is if you remember, Vayur Gandhani Vasayat. So when we are incarnating in our body and when we are moving from one body to another body, he gives this we are doing good deeds, bad deeds, and we are trying to cheat people, we are trying to hurt people, we are trying to do all of these things are building our characters. At the same time, we try to we want to be good, we want to treat others in a nice way, we want to be nice with others, we're trying to build our character there. So those characters become a part of our soul. So those characters are carried from one body to another body as a like a remembrance, but we don't remember the facts. Those concepts, those are Vayur Gandhani Vasaya. Those are carried like how the fresh air doesn't have any smell, but when it gets mixed, let's say if there is some kind of sandalwood agarbatti that gets mixed with the breeze, and it becomes a part of that breeze. Like that, when our soul passes from one to another, even this gets carried away. That's why we are saying Vayur Gandhani Vasayat, and this is why where he gives us remembrance of we should do this, we should do that. These are things that we are building our concepts, and he gives
It's
us
like filter.
yes, and he gives us forgetfulness. We if we remember that we have done the facts, especially the facts that we have done these kind of deeds with others, we have done these kind of bad deeds to others, good deeds to others. When we remember all these things, we may not be feeling that it's a fresh start. So he gives that forgetfulness also, so that you make a fresh start, so you can revive to go back.
Okay. And my second question was, is there any place or any verse which speaks about forgiveness? Like if anyone hurt you,
Yes,
how do you
Mataji.
all?
18th chapter, it comes.
Okay, thank you so much. I always ask you in advance. I'm sorry for that.
No,
Good, you're
please.
following. That's how you're able to try to relate it.
Yes,
It
you're.
means you're following, and that's exactly how you're trying to link it
Yeah.
within the
Yeah,
chapter.
I can know myself that I'm following this particular batch very, very sincerely, and I'm happy about it. Thank you.
Hari bol, Hari
Yes,
bol.
Mataji, we see that you're asking very futuristic questions, which is like you're trying to understand it in a deeper study, which is very good, Mataji.
Yeah, because 4 chapters before itself, you started asking what are these modes? How will the modes come into picture? Now, yesterday you would have understood how the modes literally mold us, and how by tweaking the modes, we will be able to elevate our consciousness way higher and way higher, and we will be able to detach ourselves from many material entanglements.
Ultimately, the credit goes to both of you in guiding us. Thank you so much.
No,
Thank
Mataji,
you.
we are
Thanks
just
a lot,
preparing.
Mataji.
Hare
We are
Krishna.
just, trying to give whatever our gurus are telling. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Yes, Jeet Prabhuji or
Jeet Prabhu, yeah.
Namaskar, Hare Krishna ji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna Prabhu.
Ji, I tried to put my question down on the WhatsApp group as well. I'm reading down exactly what I had written.
Sorry, we
How
have
can
not
one?
gone to the chats yet, Prabhu. We'll see the chats as well now. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I did not read the charts, but I really wanted to see your face expressions to answer, to get the positive intent out of the answer. What I've written is, how can one strengthen themselves to go through somewhat like the tolerance of the suffering and pain when we are not allowing indulgence in sensory pleasures? Like we want to indulge in sensory pleasures, we want to do this, that. How do we tolerate that suffering that we get when immediately you don't do it and you feel a suffering? Then similarly, how do you get rid of these lustful desires and thoughts? Like the inner voice of most of the people, when I talk to my friends and I ask them, what does your inner voice say? Dimag mein kya bol rahe ho chalta hai? They say that the words they say are very bad. They think bad about somebody. And then we try to say, "Nee, we don't want to do this. I know this is bad. I know this is wrong, but still I say that I'll do that."
I think we lost him, but we.
So how do you have these? You have these positive intentions. You believe there's a Paramatma. You are Krishna's, and like you want to do their service, but these inner voices tell bad things and to do bad things, and you know that it is wrong. It still is there. So how do you make your inner voice think good? How do you block these negative thoughts and desires?
Prabhuji, first, regarding your first part of the question about tolerance. Tolerance, when we are talking, it's more of we are referring to the temporary things that come upon us, which are temporary entanglements, which are this life we will always have dualities, and we have to tolerate because we have got this body, and this body is also very temporary. So if we think, when we tolerate, we become stronger at heart, and Krishna gives this so that we become tolerate. And if you have noticed, even we have to cultivate this knowledge. How we can tolerate is cultivating this by knowledge. And we have to have a proper mood, like we need to surrender to Krishna. By ourselves we cannot do anything. For example, our body is made up of the Panchamahabhuta. When you dig into the Panchamahabhuta, you will get emptiness. If I think that from my own head I will be able to get things, these are all subtle and gross parts, where how much ever you dig, we cannot do things on our own. But Shastras are coming from Krishna, and Shastras are Krishna. When you take the shelter, you'll automatically get how you can extract goodness, and how we can move out of this particular tolerance. So how do we control, how do we go ahead with the tolerance? Is we think that I am given this particular situation, because Krishna wants to make me stronger, and instead of giving a mountain of it, he's given very small. And when we read the Shastras, we see that Prabhu, we have done so many Ugra karmas that big, huge Mount Merus can be accumulated. But still, whatever little that we need to do is given to us for us in this life. Whatever we go through is very tiny bit of it. What is the most that cannot be forgiven at all? Only those things are given to us so that we can complete it. So all the great Mahatmas like our Srila Prabhupada and all, even though they go through the heart attack and then they go to the West for 10 years, they establish 108 temples. All of this are happening because they think I was supposed to be getting a big something very huge, but Krishna really protected. And Srila Prabhupada, when he went to the West, when he went in the Jaladuta, he wrote a song, Bodo Kripa Koile Krishna, means you did so much. You did you gave
Kripa.
you did kripa
Mercy.
on me. You gave mercy on me, that I was supposed to be going through something very big, but you just gave me 2 heart attacks. So we should think that we have done something major in our life which we have not got. Rather, Krishna is only trying to give us very tiny bit, and we can take his shelter to tolerate any dualities like goodness or badness that we get in life, or winter and summers. Just like how winter and summer comes, we should think these are the months that have come, and let me go through this so that this suffering will fade away at one point of time.
And today also we learned about how to detach ourselves, right? By understanding this knowledge, one can gradually detach ourselves from many temperaments in terms of false ego, right? And we also learned about asanga shastrena dridhena chitva, right? So also we learned about association. One, with an association, we will be able to build our personal character, and practically we will be able to change our practical behavior, the way we approach things, the way we see things. And also, if you remember, Prabhu, I'm not sure if you're there in the previous chapters. On the 13th chapter, we elaborately discussed as well. There are many qualities that we learned as well, in terms of there were almost 20 qualities that we learned, right? So we have heard those qualities, right? Tolerance, pridelessness, humility, so on and so forth. Yes, I have heard it, right? But how much are we following them, right? Steadiness, cleanliness, self control, these are the things which we have to, while we know that they are the very divine qualities and the items of knowledge, very rarely we follow it, right? Detach ourselves from the general masses, aspiring to live in a very good place, right? And then we are talking about accepting the importance of a spiritual master. While we know what is a spiritual master, we still don't try to accept a spiritual master. That's the way only out for us to come out of from this material world, in terms of being distress, you call it, or anxiety, you call it, or where we are not able to focus our attention. That's the only way out, Prabhu.
Yes, about the second part, which is lust, was defined. Prabhuji, we have to control our mind, through
We
which
saw
we
where the
can.
lust sits, the 3 sitting places of
Yes,
lust as well. We have
yes.
been reading that from chapter 3, 4, and 5 onwards.
Yes, so there are 3 different places where lust is going to attack us, I would say. Rather, it's like more of a, we have senses, mind, and
And the
also our
intelligence.
intelligence. So we cannot do anything about the senses, because senses are going to make us play. So, and also the mind, it keeps sending us pictures of how you're going to enjoy this, whatever lust you have. Maybe you want to eat something great, or you want to experience some nice movies and watch back to back movies. So these are the things that in the modern times we have had these contaminations. It's not all of us in there. It's not like one of us are, you're expressing openly, Prabhu, but all of us are in it. It's not like any one of us are not. So the but sometimes it's like you have intense lust of what I want to watch all of this, or I want to eat this particular thing. So these are the intense lust that you have, and the senses are the first thing that you need to take care of. And how you can take care of that? Through your mind. When it is sending such pictures, you should try to think of Krishna's form, or you should in the morning when you're doing any puja, when you're watching a nice picture of Krishna, just keep picture of Krishna in your mind, so that you're flashing that Krishna's picture in your mind, instead of desiring for something that's not going to give a a permanent pleasure. And through your intelligence, is this something related to Krishna? Is this something that can give me a permanent happiness, or is this going to be pushing me into badness? So this way you can calculate. Intelligence has the will. Intelligence can guide you, but mind cannot. Mind, again, it keeps sending pictures. Its job is to give that memory that I'm going to feel this when I'm eating this. This is the taste I'm going to feel. So this is how it keeps doing. And if we are able to develop the qualities, that is the 20 items, like you need to have pridelessness, humility, and keep yourself clean externally. And the most important part, how we can control lust, is by chanting.
The ABCD formula.
Yes, chanting is the major
A
one.
for association, yeah. B for the books. Books are the shastras, not the so-called mundane things, right? And C is for chanting, and D is for our diet and devotional service. That's how we will be able to do it.
But everything will start and fall in place by chanting, Prabhuji, because mind will be able to feel that happiness with chanting. It begins from there. If you're chanting, everything else will start falling into its place, and you won't feel that regretfulness, because you'll feel much happier. You'll feel much controlled. You'll have stability in your mind when you start chanting, that you're able to take Krishna's help over there.
So are you saying that if I, let's say, chant for some time, a few months, a year, 2 year, then when somebody is, let's say, at your workplace, does something to deceive you and you have lost out on a major thing that actually is not just like a pride emotion, but it actually affects your family, where you're getting less salary or less bonus because of somebody. Let's say a situation like this happens, for example, you would be filled with anger for that person. You would say bad things about that person in your mind. Do you think that if I chant for a couple of years, a few years, my mind would change the reaction it makes?
Definitely, Prabhu, because you should ask devotees. I mean, we would not be the correct person. You might have seen in this forum, some of the Matajis have come up and they have already told that when you're chanting, your later Krishna keeps showing you the path from inside, what you need to do to regulate the rest of the things. So, even if I'm not saying you'll become perfect. For example, Durvasa Muni, even though he was becoming a devotee, he was very angry. But someday we will be able to meet that instead of not doing anything at all. From our end, we'll be able to make that effort, and it is definitely going to be working out also. You'll see a change.
You can give
feel
a try.
the change.
You can give a try, Prabhu.
You can see the change. You'll have a goal very clear in your mind.
Thank you. If I may take the time, if you think it's not too late, to ask a little part of the other question. Now, at the point in time when you know your life's purpose and you know that what you need to do, maybe it is completely inspired by not any materialistic gains, but just to help other people in some way or the other. You know what you need to do. The path is physically available. You know you do A, B, C, D, and you'll do it. At that point in time, you stop and you are waiting. And you know you have to just type a few things and just click and make a few phone calls, and you can still do it, but you still don't do it. Why could that be? Like,
so just to
they know they can do something to help people. They know they can do something to help people. So they'll stop and they don't help other people. Why is that?
So when you're talking in terms of helping people, what exactly is by helping people, Prabhu? Are you helping them?
Let's say by giving some person in distress and emotional support. Let's say that is just how you want to help people.
Okay, so we already learned this particular part in our previous chapters as well, Prabhu. I don't know if you were there in our previous sessions. We learned that food, shelter, money are all temporary, right? While we think that they are a very significant part in this particular material world, yes, we need food. For our material body, we need food, we need shelter, and we need money as well to take care of it, right? We need it. But getting into the mode of compassion, we can be compassionate, but we cannot be over compassionate and try to support. Reason being, the real essence of giving something back to the people is the spiritual knowledge. The more we give the spiritual knowledge to the people, they will not get into the zone of so-called isms today that we have. right?
Hmm.
They will not get into the mode of where there will be poverty. They will not get,
Socialism,
yeah,
communism.
socialism, communism, all these isms will not be there at all. That is the real essence which we are trying to teach here, or through the teachings of the shastras and our gurus. That's exactly what we are trying to teach. Because the more you think, yes, you can give simple 2 clicks, I can do charity, I can do this, I can send money, I have money, I can do it. But what have we done? We have arrested, or we tried to take care of the problem only temporary. All the things that we see around, whatever homes are there, whatever social organizations are there, they are all temporary. Think through, are they giving, elevating ourself or consciousness spiritually? If
Yes.
somebody would have elevated our consciousness spiritually, when? Right from childhood, before the birth itself. Prahlad Maharaj was elevated right before, from the birth. He was spiritually elevated. That's the way we need to work towards it, by elevating somebody spiritually. It is not
Yes.
too late at all. We can give this
Yes.
information, inculcate this knowledge
Yes.
into our kids as well.
Yeah,
That's
so
the,
actually, for this personal situation, I'm trying to elevate people spiritually by, let's say, the path of using psychology and emotions and coaching and personal professional development. So, like, if you're giving like an organization which is giving personality development, self-development, parenting, professional development courses, I'm trying to start that. But suddenly I've seen that for the last 5-6 months, that whole passion has just disappeared. And I've been passionate about this for 5 years, 6 years, to do this and build things. Now standing at the place where everything is ready to start, like in a month, and suddenly I've just lost all motivation to do this. How can I bring back that motivation?
start connecting to the Lord. Ask the Lord, just like the way you're asking this particular question. The first thing that you need is to have a faith, a strong faith, or a little bit of faith in the Shastras and in God, right? In His potencies. If you have that particular strong faith, start surrendering to the Lord. Just go bow down today itself and just start surrendering to the Lord, and ask Him a question as to, I have a real opinion in my mind. I would like to learn the knowledge, the essence of Bhagavad Gita, or the essence, or this is what my what you call deficiencies are, or inadequacies are, right? How would I overcome these? He will definitely try to show you the path. You might wonder, what am I talking? But it really makes a sense, because that's where you're trying to connect to the Lord and seeking His shelter.
So I do that very frequently.
And start chanting, Prabhu.
I have
Start
one firm
chanting.
base. Like if you wanted to tell me that that is on sign a paper that God does not exist in this universe, could probably kill me, but I wouldn't sign that paper. So even after that, where do you get stuck? If from your experience you could tell me
So
anything.
we need to start chanting the devotional service in the old ancient times. It's we used to, if you remember Vishnu Sahasranamam, all of this actually are very very eminent in the old ancient times, but we don't do that nowadays. And hence, if we want to revive all those things that was done, we need to start chanting. And in the Kali Yuga, the devotional service begins with chanting. If we are not
How can I
chanting,
learn how to chant? How can I learn?
Prabhu, yes, all you need to do is just you can take the Tulasi Mala or the Neem Mala, which is available in any ISKCON temple, and you can start with Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, which I can post it on the group today, and you can.
It's there in all our presentation slides. We have shared the link of our presentations. It's there in all our presentations. The first 4 slides are there. And the Mahamantra, because in this particular Kali Yuga, you do any sacrifices, it will not affect. The only thing is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is the Mahamantra which we need to keep chanting, keep chanting, keep chanting. How many times? It all depends on how many times you can chant, Prabhu.
Actually, when we used to be in the ancient times, we used to do the yagna. I don't know if you have attended all, Prabhu. When we used to do the yagna, and we used to do the the meditation. These were available in other yugas, and they used to follow these yuga dharmas. In current yuga, if you're chanting, it's equal to a yagna. So when we are chanting, and Krishna is the yagna purusha, so that's why we need to perform this yagna so that we remember Lord's name and we are able to revive ourselves and make ourselves happy. It makes us happy. It'll also help you with controlling your mind and all the other things that you were referring about, tolerance, lust, and also I'm not able to get clarity in my mind, and also how I can control my anger, and also deceiving people. All of this will come into control.
One last technical question. If I chant just Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, does that have the same effect?
No,
No,
Prabhuji.
it's a partial. That is one of the aparad which we should not do, which we saw that do's of chanting, don'ts of chanting. That comes under the don'ts of chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
Hare,
Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's
If
the
I
full
chant
mantra.
just this in a repeated mode without the
Yes.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu initial initiation, is that enough?
It's fine, Prabhu. If you're starting it,
Fine. Okay.
yes, if you're starting with a good start, yes, you can. If you
Okay.
make an attempt, that is very good. You should start with Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya,
Nya
because
Prabhu
in
Nityananda.
this particular yuga, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come just 500 years before in the mood of Radharani, Srimati Radharani.
He's Krishna himself,
And he's
Prabhuji.
Krishna himself. And that's why we are taking their shelter. It's like we are taking the backdoor entry,
Yes.
because connecting to the Lord, it's so tough. So that's why we are taking through the ashraya of our acharyas and gurus, and that's how we are connecting. And we are connecting to the spiritual masters and through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
जी प्रभु आप दोनों शिव पार्वती रूप को दंडवत प्रणाम.
No problem.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. It's all our Guru's mercy and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy that we are able to all spread this word. Whoever is able to take it, it's very good. Just like how Prabhuji was explaining about backdoor entries, because Krishna himself is the boss. So we can't directly go meet the boss. So we have to meet all the other people who are assisting him as assistants. So through them, they are more merciful than Krishna. So if you're going through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who came to give this Mahamantra to everybody, it's easier that we can reach the Lordship. Say, look, my devotees come, you have to help me, help. So that's how Krishna will take their assistants who are helping them. So but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. So if you're taking the Lord's name this way, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, if we have done any aparadh in that one mantra, one round of Mahamantra you would have chanted, one round has 108 beats. So when you complete that one round, when you call Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the associates, which is Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, is Balramji,
Another
and
associate, yeah.
yes, and Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Acharya is the combination incarnation of Mahavishnu and also Shiva, and also we have the Gadadhara, who is the Srimati Radharani, and also Narada Muni, who is Srivasadi. So this is how we call all of them, that I got this benediction and mantra so that I can go ahead and relieve myself from this Kali Yuga. And that's why when you're doing that one mantra, they will help you, that if I have done any aparadh, they will try to forgive us. That's why we call that mantra as Panchatattva mantra. All 5 of them will help us forgive if we have done any aparadh. But
So
I
you
will
said this-
send the video. It's just a 3-minute video. I will send it. A child will tell what is the procedure. You can follow according to that, Prabhuji.
Perfect ji. Pranam ji. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
And don't get disconnected. Now that you're connected, get into our association. We have very wonderful elevated devotees on this particular what you call channel, in this particular course as well. We are also blessed to be a part of this particular channel while we are trying to spread the Bhagavad Gita through His grace, Namanishta Prabhu. But there are very, very elevated souls on this particular team, which we are. So association is the key, Prabhu. Don't get disconnected.
Yes.
Please.
जी बिल्कुल.
You can continue. Thank you
Okay.
so much,
Thank
Prabhu.
you.
Thank you
Hare
very much,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Okay,
Krishna.
there are way too many questions and there are 2 hands raised.
Mataji.
We have one person named K. So
Okay.
we can take up his question.
Sure.
Mataji.
Sure, Mataji. Then we can get into the
Yeah.
Hey there, Jai Shri Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So you mentioned, hi, you just mentioned about that Hare Krishna, Hare Maha mantra, right? But then we are so conditioned to speak Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namah or Klim Krishnaya Namaha. Does it fetch the same results, or do we have to change our habits and then chant this new one?
Mataji, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva is you're invoking Krishna's name, but however, Hare Krishna Mahamantra is actually a Mahamantra where you can chant anywhere. Whenever there is a Om attached to it, there is a no time, place, and circumstances that gets involved. But when you chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given that even you can chant in the washroom while you're taking a shower or anywhere, you can still chant the Mahamantra.
Yeah,
But
there is no time, place,
there's no
circumstance
time, place,
attached
and
to it.
circumstances attached to it. And the more you chant, when you're chanting, the most important part is you're receiving that transcendental vibration to your ear, it goes to your heart. And this way, when you're chanting, that chant, you're serving the Lord through your tongue. And when you're serving the Lord through your tongue, it goes into your end, it goes to your heart, and it cleanses your heart. That's the most important part. So Krishna himself is sitting in the heart, it keeps cleansing your heart. You're hearing that mantra, and it has more effect than if you're chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
And also we are invoking the transcendental potencies or the energies of the Lord, which is a Hare.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, when we are saying his Radharani, his internal potencies, which is the Radharani. So that's how we are invoking Hare Krishna, and all that. So time, place, circumstances. If you ask the question, can we continue with doing Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya? Yes, you can continue. But there are time, place, circumstances are also there, Mataji. So you have to consider that. But ideally, as per our acharyas and everyone, it is ideal as the Kali Yuga Dharma as given in the scriptures as well. The best is continuing with the Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
I think Mataji is muted.
Okay, so now we'll come to the chats.
Yes, Mataji.
Sure.
So the first question is, what is a pious act?
When you do any good deeds, you accrue one pious act. When you do bad deeds, you accrue one impious act. But when you are doing something related to Krishna, that becomes akarma, and it is not a pious or an impious act. It goes into the transcendental.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the next leading question is, are pious acts considered bad? Well, they are not considered as bad, but you are, just like the way yesterday we said, are we being situated in the mode of goodness is bad? Yes, we are conditioned with the being very firm and very steady in being on goodness. That way we will say that I know everything. So, and that's how we will
And
be
also we are
conditioned in
binding.
that. We are binding with that particular condition in the only way of being at goodness.
As in, if you're doing one good act, you have to do one bad act, so it becomes you're actually getting into the cycle of goodness, and you're actually, when you're doing a good act also, you'll have to, it binds us in the material world. When you're doing a bad act also, it binds us in the material world. So we don't want to be binding, rather we want to zero out both, and we want to move into the spiritual world. How can we do that? By chanting good acts and bad acts, everything gets zeroed out.
Okay, so we have Sushil Jindal who asked this question. So I'll just unmute.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
You have already answered. I think I asked the same question.
Okay.
You have already
Okay,
answered. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
What is the name of the picture of the tree? It's just a banyan tree. I think it's the first picture which is talking about.
Yeah.
It's just a banyan tree, Ashwatham.
Ashwatham is a very temporary one. So
Yeah.
there are two meanings of Ashwatham. One
is
is
a banyan tree and the other one is a temporary.
it means temporary.
Kishore Kumar Meher, he gives very good dohes or shlokes, but we don't know what's the meaning of it. If you'd explain, it'll be good. Okay. Hare
Okay,
Krishna.
verse 15.6 mentions that we will not come back to the material world if we reach the spiritual world. Does this mean that we are now completely cleansed if we reach the spiritual world, and we will be free from desires, which originally was our downfall, which led us to material world?
Very good question. The desires will always be, because the soul desires, the soul always desires, and the desires will be there. The more we have these desires and we detach from the material world, we will get back to the spiritual world. Yeah, correct understanding.
Okay. The next one is an analogy with drinking water. So that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, then there's another question. I think it's pretty down. I'll just scroll down.
Any sin when you do
okay.
it for service. Yes, correct, Prabhuji. Kishore
Word-
Prabhu, work dedicated to Krishna is sinless. You are free from
your
any
when
sin
you do it to service
when
of
you do
Krishna.
it to
Perfect.
service.
That is Krishna karma. Yes.
Please explain why some deity forms of Krishna are blackish in color, whilst others are lighter in complexion. Is this
Right.
due to his mood or rasa?
Yeah,
Yes.
Meghashyama. One is Meghashyama, and the other one also we can understand. Yes, it's due to his mood and rasa
Yes,
as well.
when Krishna comes down into the material world in this last incarnation of Krishna, he comes in the blackish form. That's why we have it over here as blackish. But otherwise, he's in the fresh rain cloud, monsoon rain cloud. Do you need to believe
in astrology. When we are chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, for me, I am jobless from September 2020. They said need to do some puja for Shiva in Sri Lakahasti temple.
Sri Kalahasti temple.
Sri Kalahasti temple, sorry.
If you're already chanting Mataji, and if you are
Niranjan
following,
Prabhu.
sorry,
Niranjan.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you are already chanting, I think astrology actually is good to know, but you don't have to be applying because you're falling under. You don't fall under karma kanda. Say there. You
Yeah.
move out
So
of
in
karma kanda.
astrology, you get into karma kanda, but here in the chanting, you will not be in karma kanda activities. Is what we are trying to say. Now, if your question is, will chanting help me getting a job? Yes, maybe you can tell Krishna, oh Krishna, I'm not able to continue to do or focus on the devotional service because the one of the main ingredients is missing, which is me
Yes.
taking care of you because I do not have a job right now and I'm not able to take care of myself. I'm sure Lord knows about it.
Yes.
And once you continue chanting, definitely he will be able to show you the path, Prabhu. That's what we can say. Yeah.
The queries in this chat are over, but there
Yes,
was one which was posted in the group that is related to in Indian mythology. Why is it that God only emphasizes on following his or her path and to trust him or her? Is it not possible that one can get influence from other scripts or religion or God or path given by them? If God is supreme almighty, why doesn't in his or her teachings they give right to choose?
They are giving so many things to choose. Actually, he's giving all the religions. He's giving even if you're not following religions, he's also giving whichever whatever you want it as per your desires. He makes your as per your desire. He makes you come to one of the Lord so that you can take their shelter also. I don't know if the question I have heard it properly, Mataji. You have it on the group on the chat.
Let us hear and
WhatsApp group.
Oh,
okay,
okay.
first of all, it's not a Hindu, or it's not a mythology. Well,
Yeah,
it's
it's
not a
not a
myth.
myth.
Nothing is a myth here. We follow something called as a Varnashrama Dharma. That's what we have learned so far,
Sanatana Dharma.
which is a Sanatana Dharma, which is an eternal Dharma. And based on that, the Varnas and the Ashramas are created. Now, if we say why different religions follow different, yes, they follow their way of path. They are following their own gurus. But however, the scriptures, the proof of the scriptures, which is the origins from 120 million years ago, we do not want to give a commentary just like that. There are very references and evidence as to. I do not want to get into the comparison in terms of what you call religions and all that, but the information that we have, the evidences that we have is the scriptures. The scriptures gives us the right source, and it comes from the bona fide source, which is the sampradayas. And we are also following a disciplic succession where there is no distortion of facts. We give the information as it is. In that scriptures, these are not myths. It gives the details of the specifics as it is in terms of what is varna and what is ashrama. Is this the one?
I don't know. I couldn't find that.
Yeah, in the 9 p.m. group.
Which number, Mataji? 9 p.m. Which number?
No, not the WhatsApp groups like with the number, the admins group.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, we have 2 more hands raised now.
Yes, we will. Yes, we can pick them up as well.
Manan Bakshi.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna Prabhuji and Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I wanted to ask another question. God forbid, for example, I'm just taking an example. If your own kid, due to ignorance, is on verge of drinking poison, it's his free will to drink it. So will you enforce your own will on him and snatch that poison bottle from him, or you will say that I can't enforce my will on him, so you will let him suffer and drink poison? That's my question.
Okay. So if I,
Similarly, you can compare that to God also. That why did we? Why can't God force His will on us? If we are getting envious of God, so it's just like drinking poison. So why can't He force His will on us?
okay, is that your question, Prabhu? So you
Yes.
are okay. So this is a continuation to the question which you were trying to ask yesterday, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I will try to give a analogy here with a reference point here, right? There is something called as a principle and there is something called as a preference, right? So let's take it as a same example. You have taken it as a poison. I'll take it as a different example just for a better understanding. Right in front of us, our kid is crying. What do we do? Do we let the kid just go keep on crying? That's what the kid is trying to do. The kid is just trying to cry, cry, cry. Do we just allow the kid just to go ahead and cry because that's your fate right now? That's what you have to do. Go ahead and cry. Or do we use our preference instead of the principle and we try to take care and pacify the kid not to cry?
We should pacify the kid not to cry.
Correct? That's
Yes.
what we are trying to see. So I think that has answered your question in the
How
first part,
come?
what you asked, right?
Yes, sir. Please.
Okay. So similarly, God gives us many instructions directly or indirectly, right? It is we who do not understand those instructions in spite of God is giving us. Because why we do not understand? Because we are firm on our understanding and we feel that the understanding that have is the best of the understanding. Today also we learned that we are very knowledgeable. We feel that because of our aham mameti, we feel that we are the best than a spiritual master. No matter what, we don't even surrender to the spiritual master to understand anything. Forget about God. How can we even question God as to why is he not forcing us his free will?
No, but I think that we can question, but we cannot challenge him. Just like Arjuna questioned the Gita, all the questions were asked by Arjuna. So I have no doubt that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and I have so many vices in me. But I have the right to question actually. So I don't think that it's wrong. And one more thing that see, I can believe that worldly son or not an ideal son can get envious of his father. But an ideal son, how can he get envious of his father? So initially we were in the spiritual world. So we were ideal. So how can we get envious of him? We were not we were ideal, so how can we get envious? You can say that any worldly son or materialistic son, you can say that they can get envious of his father, but how can ideal
Okay.
son get envious of his father?
Prabhu, can you please come on video?
Actually, I'm not in the condition. I was eating my food dinner. I'm having dinner, so I'm not in the condition. Sorry, but
No problem, Prabhu.
can
We
you
just
wait
want to see
for?
we just want to see your face. You can come on video, please. We would want to have a face-to-face
Okay.
conversation. It'll be good. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yes.
Hare
So
Krishna.
when we meant about envious, that is one of the scenarios, right? The soul cannot stop desiring. The soul desires no matter what. So the soul is desire to do something else over there. When I was giving an example yesterday, that right now the soul is in the form of a honeybee, but would want to become something else, would want to experience some other transcendental mellow, right? That is where the desire gets into picture.
But so if we were experiencing the supreme desire, that is Krishna, so how can we think of anything lower desire than Krishna? That's again my second question.
Yeah, that is what the soul was unable to understand over there. That is the problem of that particular soul at that point of time, where the soul was unable to understand that
So
extreme desire.
so why wasn't the soul unable to understand at that time?
Prabhuji, I would like to give one small story. I'm not going to give you a very long one. This is actually a very nice pastime that I would like to tell. Although I'm going to cut short a lot of facts just for the interest of what you are exactly saying. So once what happened is there was a king. His name was Chitraketu. He was living in the. He was one of the very greatest king at that point of time, and then later he incarnated where he went to the spiritual worlds after there was the I'm going to remove that part time also because it's going to take a long time and there are people waiting. So when Chitraketu was actually in the in the spiritual sky, he was passing by to Lord Shiva and Parvati, who were teaching Bhagavatam to all the devotees. And when they were teaching all of his devotees, it so happens that all the devotees are learning Bhagavatam, but Lord Shiva and Lord Parvati, Lord Shiva is holding Parvati on his lap and he's teaching Bhagavatam. So what are you teaching? You're teaching Srimad Bhagavatam, where you're trying to teach a concept that you're trying to renounce yourself, but rather Lord Shiva himself is holding Parvati in the lap. So this particular king that I'm referring, he is the most exalted devotee of Krishna. And by looking at the scene, for a moment he smirks. Okay, when he smirks, he feels, oh, how nice that we have. He's having a mind he's in his mind. He's thinking, he's smirking because he's teaching Bhagavatam, which is like most renounced book. I mean, it's most renounced story. But Krishna, Lord Shiva himself, he's sitting with Parvati Devi, who's sitting on the lap, which doesn't look, he's just having this and he just smirks. For this, Parvati Maya, she told, I curse you that you will be born as a demon on earth.
Correct. Yes.
So she was very upfront and she just gave it up. I mean, she just reacted to this. So, of course, later on, Chitraketu was born as a demon, and he had to fight against Indra, Lord Indra. But what was Chitraketu's mindset, Prabhu? He said,
Yes, actually, I know this bits of
if you have
Srimad Bhagavatam.
actually, let me complete, Prabhu. If you have actually, yes, let me complete what is the concept that I'm trying to drive it. So when he came up with this, that Parvati just did this to me and I had to fall down as a demon. When he was actually an exalted devotee, he had to be born as a demon. He told, even if I have been given this, whether I deserve this or not, even if I'm given this, there might be something that has given I've got this particular curse, and I'm very happy to take up this. And for all that Krishna knows better than us. So if something has gone wrong, we should try to think that something has gone wrong. We should not try to challenge what went wrong. Rather, we should think we're all devotees of Krishna, whether he wants us to be in material world or in spiritual world or in in any other realm which is even abominable. It's okay. Let us all try to think that whether we're there or here, I will not leave you, Krishna. You're saying you're a devotee of Krishna. I will not leave you, Krishna. I want to be holding you tight. I will not get out of this particular bhakti at any cost. When you do that, automatically you will become very firm, Prabhuji. If we are thinking why we fell down, how it happened, it's a very long thing that we are going to just discuss and then it will never end. So it's rather better we accept what is given to us, whatever is given to us, even though it was not Chitraketu's problem or it was not his, there was no fault of him, he accepted it. Like that, we all have to see in this story that we have to accept whatever mistake that we have done, we don't know. He knows it. He is telling us to revive something, which means there is some contamination that he has seen and hence he has asked us to revive. So let us all be in that mode so that we don't have to question and it is going to only lead us into problems. Rather, he knows it better and leave it to them.
Correct. Actually, I've heard this story actually that Shiva had Parvati Mataji had cursed that Asur in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is there. I had heard this. So actually, he could have also have cursed her, but he did not because
he accepted it.
Yes.
He happily accepted because that's the mood of the devotee. The devotees always don't think and challenge what happened. They always think, if I am given this, this is the refinement that's given to me, and let me complete whatever I have been given and let me go back. This is the mood of, this is the humility that we all have to practice.
That is the Bheda and Achintya Bheda as well. That's the inconceivable information as well. So we can only understand this particular inconceivable Bheda Tattva by surrendering to the Lord. That's what we are
Okay,
trying to explain.
yes, correct. Okay, I've got the answer. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very
Hare
much.
Krishna. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Welcome again.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So I just wanted to know the exact meaning of austerity. Like when I look it up, like the different meanings online. Like in one side it says like there's a the sadhana that that we do which purifies the body and mind, which or of anything that prevents us from connecting with God. And there's another meaning saying that that we voluntarily accepting trouble for spiritual advancement. So I'm a bit confused if you can explain what's the correct meaning.
Sure, Mataji. Mataji, austere in our context, when we use it as per Krishna consciousness, it's that you are trying to give up some things for the sake of attaining something supreme.
We are detaching. Basically, we are detaching all the elements of material objects or material senses.
But like in some context that you saw, there are some extremes that we just saw that, some of them, they do extreme austerities. That is not recommended for us because and some of them, what they do is, if they're living in Himalayas, when you're living in Himalayas, you're actually already in such cold weathers and they try to pour cold water on them. It's as it is cold and they try to take shower in the cold waters. They're trying to kill the senses completely, but we don't do that. We try to dovetail to Krishna. So when we have austerities also, for example, we do this Ekadashis. When we're doing Ekadashi, in some cultures they don't eat anything, but in ours we try to eat lesser and we fast from grains, so that because on that day Krishna's mercy is fully available. So we take shelter to chant more, because on that day when you're chanting, I don't know if you have noticed, Mataji, it's faster. You can count faster, you can chant faster. So you can reciprocate also with Krishna faster. So we want to be in the mood of Krishna, and we want to get more mercy on that day from Krishna, and also chant more is the biggest mantra than cooking and getting involved into too much of eating and everything, so that it's lesser on kitchen work mostly.
Yeah, and moreover, it's all about material. It's all about material detachment. We, one way we say that we are in this material world, we try to lord over the material world. The real austerity is where we are connecting to the material world and we are not exploiting the material world, and we are trying to lead a austere life. That's the real essence of austerity. Like we know what our limitations are, just like in Ishavasham principle, it's clearly mentioned about the quota and so on, the so forth, right? So we follow, while we know that cleansing, waking up and early, all those are, we are working according to the prakriti or the material nature, as simple as that. And we are not exploiting the material world. When we say material world, anything and everything that includes our surrounding, our vacho vegam, manasa vegam, krodha vegam, everything comes into picture, Mataji.
Yes. We are
All
becoming
those-
austere from speech, austere from from
A
heart,
choice of words,
choice
yeah.
of words. So on that day we are austere not to try
into
to
anger,
become
yeah.
as austere as possible in not to speak anything that's going to hurt others, or even our mentally also we should not blaspheme others and make aparads. So you're trying to revive in all consciousness.
So the more we are trying to gratify ourselves, if we can curtail that by gratifying our sense objects where we think that we are trying to enjoy the sense objects, that is the real austere, is what we are gaining through Krishna consciousness. The body of the chariot, which we learned, Mataji, where we are trying to control our senses through the mind, through the intelligence, that is a real austere. Apart from, I think, the rest of the things which you already know, which you're already following, sadhana, so on and so forth.
Yes.
But the main thing is about our material desires, and not to lord over the material nature.
Yes, Mataji, and please refer just now, Prabhu, what he told, that Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam. That gives like all the austerities,
Yeah,
all types
the
of
6 things
austerities.
it gives.
6 shad vidham.
Oh, okay, okay. What is it? Can you repeat again? Vacho?
Yeah.
This is given in
I
Nectar of
think it's given
Instructions.
in Nectar of Instructions. Vacho Vegam,
Oh.
Manasa Krodha Vegam. 1 second, I'll try to
Jiva
pull that
Vegam,
up.
Jiva Vegam, where you eat less and
Udaro
also you
Pasto
speak
Vegam.
less.
Etan Vegam hi Samadhira. That's how it is called as a dhira as well. Are you able
It's
to see
available
our
on Google.
screen?
No, but I
Okay.
have that book with me. If it's in that book, I can read it.
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, it is there in it. I think it's
think
the first verse, if I'm not wrong.
Okay.
Nectar of Instructions.
Is
Yeah.
it Nectar of
Yeah.
Instructions? Okay, or Devotion. Okay, Instructions.
This
It
the
is
one.
the first one, Mataji.
First one itself. Vacho
Okay.
Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, Jivva Vegam, Udaro Pasto Vegam, Etan Veganyo Vishahita Dhira, Sarvam Apima, Prithivimsa Shishyat. If you see, a sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and the genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. So this is the best way one can be austere.
Oh, okay. Very well given in this. Okay. Okay.
Yes,
Good.
it's already given in our scriptures,
First shloka,
Mataji. The
Mataji,
first shloka
instructions.
itself in the instructions.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Mataji.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna. I think we're done with all the questions.
Yes. Okay, with this, I think we can close the session here with our closing prayers. Do we have Dr. Jayanti asking a question? Let's.
No, I think Mataji is
Okay,
just on.
okay, Moin.
Okay.
Okay, with this, we'll try to close our session here with our closing prayers.
वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च
वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च
कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे नाम संकीर्तन की
जय।
नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की
जय।
श्री प्रभुपाद की
जय।
समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की
जय।
उपस्थित गौर भक्त वृंद की
जय।
श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की
जय।
पुरुषोत्तम योगा की
जय।
श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे।
हरि हरि बोल।
हरि बोल। Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you very much for joining for the very important class. And please
See you all tomorrow again. The much awaiting session tomorrow, which we will learn that from the 16th chapter. 3 more sessions to go. Please continue joining us. Stay tuned. Again, we'll see you tomorrow. Till then, take care of your health. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
With your permission, we will try to end the session here right away. Hare Krishna.